Reality Team TV, we're back. And this conversation, this is part two. This is Dorota Chioma. Welcome back onto the red chair, darling.
Hello.
Thank you so much once again, for making an appearance onto the red chair. Like I said, this is your second time on the red chair. And I feel like this second conversation is definitely, a must. But I thought, one of the main reasons from the get-go, I thought, we'll have this conversation, like I said, if you don't mind us to just dive a little bit deeper into, like bipolar, because I think even though me doing my research, like on Google, like obviously there's a lot of information about bipolar on Google, but one thing I realized, funny enough, I don't know if you realize that as well, not everybody goes on Google to take time to really, take time to read about symptoms and all of these things. Some people learn in a different way. Some people might learn by these videos, by just actually watching somebody talking about it. And then, like I said, other people go on Google. So, like, just, again, once again, even like, ever since like the last time that we spoke here, how have you been just in general, Like, how have you been?
Well, up and down. It's typical for my disorder to have extreme lows and extreme highs. And it has been 18 months I was severely depressed. And it's just a year since I kind of got on my feet. And that episode was massive one. I hardly could speak. I hardly eat. I couldn't function properly. So it has been tough. And there has been changes made to my treatment regime in order to keep me more stable.
Yeah. You see, like, when we talk about medication, yeah, you see once again, from the last time that we spoke here, are you still like on the same medication? Have you increased the type of medication that you're on? Or even you've decreased, you're no longer on a lot of medication?
I used to be on lithium for a long time. However, the side effects were awful to me, so I decided to stop taking lithium. And during the last episode of depression, they changed my medication to injectable ones, and I also still take antidepressants.
Okay. And is this something that, in terms of like from what you know and what the doctors know, is this something that they said that you're going to be on for the rest of your life, or maybe there's something that could be done, like, in the near future?
Well, they presume that I should be on medication to the rest of my life. I, however, hope that at some point I will be able to check how I'm managing without medication. But this is probably every bipolar person will tell you that we have tendency to stop our medication. Because we feel great and we want to see if that greatness will preserve. Because medication, they have side effects. They make you numb. They make your sleeping pattern different. Your appetite, the weight loss or gain. There are several side effects that accompany the treatment. So at some point you get tired of it. You would like to feel how would you be without them.
I could imagine, like I said, like, because a lot of medication does have different side effects, like what you just said, affecting your eating, your sleeping and whatnot. In terms of even just one of like those two, like your eating and your sleeping, which one has been affected more over the years when it comes to your medication? Your eating or like your sleeping pattern?
Both, actually, but sleeping pattern is something that is very crucial to my stability. If I don't have proper sleep, it's very likely that I may go into the different polarity. So maintaining the sleep pattern is crucial for people with bipolar disorder. However, medication usually make you more sleepy. So I recently experienced those fatigue and physical fatigue that make me you kind of crash at the end of the day.
Yeah. And even just in general, even just taking it back to like, as far as possible, yeah, if you don't mind, yeah. How did you get bipolar in the first place?
Well, that is unknown how you get it. They think that it's genetics. However, I don't know much about my family to distinguish if there was any pattern there.
Yeah.
And it kind of I think it started in my teenage times. I was severely depressed and had kind of mood swings then as well, but they were not severe. So it took good a few years to kind of establish what it is. I was misdiagnosed with clinical depression at the beginning. Because obviously, you know, when you seek help from the doctor, when you feel crap, right? When you feel great, when I'm in mania or hypomania, I feel great. So why would I seek doctor advice, right? It's like, I feel well, I feel great.
You don't need them.
Exactly, I don't need the doctor.
Cool. Yeah, it's true, yeah.
So I used to seek help only when I was depressed. So I was misdiagnosed with clinical depression. However, it was 2020, I think, when I experienced my first massive manic episode, and that led to diagnosis.
Okay. And you know, like usually people say like a lot of things stem from like our childhood, especially when you get to a point where you go on a journey of tracing back of certain things. Like obviously you just told us that you started obviously, you know, realizing that you had bipolar in your teenage years, right?
Yeah.
Like have you ever also tried to trace back to see if also your bipolar has had something to do with your childhood as well?
It's difficult to say because, you know, back then in Poland, you know, when I was a child, we had different knowledge and resources to kind of look into mental health, and particularly for children. You know, even now, mental health for children is kind of sometimes, you know, misunderstood and looked over in a way that it shouldn't happen, and children just should be children, right? So it was exactly the same with me. I had my mood swings, but everybody thought that it's just, you know, the way I am, the way hormones react, the way, you know, we behave as children. Some children are shy, some children are more forward. You know, I was a shy child, and I think that if I was born nowadays, I could be diagnosed with autism, as I was very withdrawn child. I spent most of the time with adults, and even then I was already managing myself with art. So I was drawing a lot, and then I was the most happy. So it's difficult to say because my childhood was happy childhood. Both parents, loving home, a sister, you know, a normal kind of commotion every day when it comes to school and work and stuff like that. So there were no major trauma that I could relate to.
In terms of like relationships, like either friendships or intimate relationships, either obviously whatever you prefer, either a man or a woman. Like the older you got, like have you found that has your bipolar kind of like, you know, made it kind of like tricky or even difficult for you to sustain relationships just in general, like I said, either friendships or intimate relationships?
Definitely. Mostly before my diagnosis, I was puzzled by the fact that I lost a lot of friends. People were saying to me, "You are too much to handle," and kinds, you know, these kind of statements. And managing relationships is very awkward because you can imagine when you are very low, you don't need anyone, so you isolate yourself.
Yeah.
When you are manic, you are everywhere and running all the possible projects, and you are hyper, and you use so much energy that people find it difficult to sustain.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, relationships are particularly difficult because it is difficult to be with a person who has extreme mood swings. And there are months sometimes when you know, when the episode lasts. It's difficult also from the perspective of the romantic relationships, because when I'm manic, I'm very open to people. I am very, talkative, and there is nothing impossible for me when I'm manic.
Yeah.
And this cause a danger, the feeling of danger for others, that you may be going for someone romantically because you are so open and so talkative.
Okay.
So people fear bipolar for that reason.
Okay. Once you fall in love with somebody, regardless of what they've got, you can literally learn, to love them for who they are and whatever baggage they might bring or whatever might come with that and whatnot. Do you feel like some people maybe, again, like I said, it might be bipolar or anything else. Do you feel like maybe just some people, it just might be a little bit too much for them to take on as time goes by into the relationship?
It is too much. It is definitely too much, because at some point your partner becomes a carer. Although you are functioning in the society, working whatsoever, your condition makes you vulnerable to all those extremes, and living up and down for person who doesn't experience it is very challenging.
Yeah. To be fair with you, like in a nutshell, that's absolutely true, and it must take a special person, like, again, and also I understand, like, when a person loves you and you've got like a condition, like I said, like, a person will literally have to take so much time to also learn so much, do more research, so that they can even understand on a deeper level. So when you have your episodes, they can even understand and have more tolerance for it, right?
Exactly. And the point is that, many people have bipolar, but every person is a unique person, and their symptoms may be different. The way of coping will be different. So when you surround yourself with a person who has that condition, you will learn about them more than about bipolar in general, because we are all different.
Or unique cases.
Yeah.
What about with relatives? Again, we're touching on like relationships. Obviously, we touched on friendships and intimate. What about your own blood, like your own family? Like, over the years, has your bipolar also had, some effects, some strains on, some of your relatives and some of your family members?
Definitely, because it's worrying. When I'm in depressive state, I am suicidal. I am danger to myself. People fear that something bad may happen to me. So the worry will be always there. But I think it's similar in any other condition. When we are ill, there is that fear that something bad may happen.
If you, like I said, if you live by yourself and like, you've got all of these responsibilities to take care of, but again, you don't really have maybe much help, and mentally you're not in a good place, and you've got all of these things going on in your head. Like, how do you, because it's like, it's incredible for people like me, once again, to just like even think about it. It's like, imagine like having like I said, a month of like mentally, like, you're really, really struggling, but you need to somehow still get up. You need if you still got a job, or somehow still, you need to cook for yourself, you need to look after yourself, all of these things. Like, you got what I'm trying to say? Like, how do you go through the day-to-day, like, struggles? How do you go through the day-to-day?
It's very difficult. I am fortunate that I have a partner who is caring and loving.
Big him up. First and foremost, everyone I say, I'm not going to lie, big up your partner. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm not going to lie. Big him up.
So there is a lot that my partner helps me with, and like I said before, he became a carer at some point, mostly when I'm very ill. But on your own, I don't think you can survive it fully on your own. You need help from others. It can be friends, it can be family, it can be professionals. But extreme lows and highs, they are very difficult to manage, and there is a lot of risk and dangers involved. So I think that as much as you can try to do it on your own, I think that at some point the help is needed.
I would assume the same as well. Yeah, the same thing as well. And even earlier, you touched on this key word, which I want to bring up again. This key word, obviously, some people call it tired, but the key word is fatigue, right? And, like, when you go through, like, how often, Like, what causes that once again, in terms of like, because you touched on it a little bit earlier with that word, like, what really causes, like, sometimes, like, for you to be tired and for you to be fatigued sometimes?
Well, it depends on the polarity I am in. When I'm depressed, the physical body in some way go into the stand mode. I don't need food. I don't need talk. I don't need. I don't feel like I need any hygiene. You know, it's very difficult to manage. So you know, the fatigue can be the source of fatigue is well, it can be different reasons. Very often there are medications because antipsychotic medications make you to calm down the manic side, but they make you tired and they make you depleted from energy. When you are depressed, that naturally the body kind of gives up, and you just don't feel any strength to do anything around yourself. So the fatigue is always present, but in different kind of ways. But in my case, at the moment, I believe that the fatigue is caused by.
Have you ever tried to go that route? Because even earlier we spoke about obviously medication and what the doctors have said. Have you ever tried to go that route of using natural medication, like I said, yeah, like things like CMOS, you know, so that it could help you with your tiredness? Because so many things, remedies within the natural, you know, like, you know, holistic medication, so many, like, yeah, when you dive deep into that kind of realm, so you do get certain things that could help you when you're tired, like I said, CMOS and other things. But yeah, have you ever tried to go on that route of natural medication?
Well, I haven't, because being on medication, there is the risk that they will counteract with each other, and you know, and doctors are very reluctant to kind of advise you on that. So for that reason, I steer clear from it. But in the past, before my diagnosis, I was trying different supplements, amino acids, the high protein diet, you know, you name it. So I still try to eat well and take supplements. For example, you know, the last episode, why I'm mentioning it, because people who are feeling down, they really need to check the levels of the vitamin D and vitamin B12.
Yeah.
I was severely deficient with vitamin B12, and that is why perhaps my depression wasn't lifting quickly enough, although I was on medication.